Weather has changed the course of history in California. Time and time again, floodwaters have rushed over the valley. We've tried to hold them back.
Oh, there he goes. There you go.
Many times this century, we've been reminded just who's in control.
Everybody says, oh, this has never happened before. Well, yes, usually it has, but maybe you just don't remember it. What you remember are the long, hot summers where the weather tends to be very nice.
There are extremes in our weather. Blizzards hit the Sierra every year. Back in November 1994, Highway 50, Interstate 80, and I-5 were all simultaneously closed because of a blizzard. Alpine Meadows was swept away by an avalanche in 1982. 7 were killed. But truly, the deadliest storms, and those with biggest impact, involve floods. Hundreds of years ago, the Sacramento Valley was an inland sea. When there's heavy rainfall and runoff, the valley fills up all over again between the coastal range and the Sierra. A century ago, Northern Californians were already battling Mother Nature for this tract of land. Back in 1862, after the foundation had been set for the state capitol, the construction site flooded. In response, engineers raised it 6 feet before completing it. Old Sacramento was raised as well. That was our response to the weather, and it wouldn't be our last. 1955, one of the worst storms in state history. 11 inches of rain on the valley burst a levee near Yuba City. $200 million in property destroyed, 100,000 acres inundated, and 38 deaths, 64 total fatalities statewide. Construction on the Folsom Dam was begun 3 years earlier. It was finished enough to prevent major flooding in Sacramento, but by January, the water was dangerously high. 1964, 20 inches of rain in 3 days in the high country and north coast. This man in Fair Oaks watches and waits. There would be 20 years without a major flood. Complacency would be shattered, though, in 1986. $150 million in damage, 50,000 people evacuated, 12 dead. Especially hard hit Roseville and Arcade Creek. Then in 1997, the worst widespread flooding in recent memory.
If we were standing here, we'd be under about 20 feet of water right now.
Jeff McCracken of the Bureau of Reclamation describes the situation below Nimbus Dam. Twice in January, Northern California was devastated. In places like Arboga and Wilton. A major mudslide on Highway 50. In spite of all our efforts, hope is often the only weapon we have against the elements. Elissa Lynn, News 10. It was happening again.
We find out now, after wading through water almost waist high, that this is Woody Wilson.
Woody Wilson's driveway was a battleground.
About 2 o'clock in the morning, the fire department came by and knocked on our doors and said that it was raining hard above us. They expected a lot of water to come down. We got up and proceeded to do the things that had to be did.
In January of 1997, his Granite Bay community looked like this. Today, it's peaceful. Woody fought the flood and won.
You just get your easy chair out, look over the sandbags and say, well, let's hope it goes down pretty soon.
California is at the mercy of Mother Nature some winters.
We didn't have anything to help protect us.
Somehow, we're surprised every time.
I have a strong belief that our state philosophy had been, we can control the water, and the water would not control us.
So the first half of the century was spent building levees to hold the water back.
And if you live behind a levee, you're at risk, no matter how good you may think that levee is. There's an old saying in the flood control business that there's 2 kinds of levees in California, those that have failed and those that are gonna fail.
By the 1950s, gigantic dams and reservoirs were being built to yield greater protection. In order to give the Sacramento River room to widen, a series of weirs and bypasses was constructed, all the way north from Red Bluff to here, the Sacramento Weir. Water is allowed to overflow into bypass canals, relieving stress along populated stretches. But sometimes, even that is not enough. In spite of those massive structures, valley communities still must struggle to beef up and repair the levees.
The water is just incredible. You know, we've been saturated. It can't take anymore.
Floods happen most often when the Pineapple Express comes in. These are warm tropical storms with snow levels as high as 8,000 or 10,000 feet, which create sudden snowmelt and often massive mudslides.
It shows the power of Mother Nature.
Like here along Highway 50. It's not just the valley that's been brought to its knees by killer storms. This house was simply demolished by the January 97 storm. To what degree can we really determine the level of flood protection we need? The answer can only come with time. The last 150 years are really the blink of an eye for this valley. Whether we can hold out against nature forever remains to be seen. Elissa Lynn, News 10.